every client matters. Every single like contact that we have like is important, and like this is something that how can we sustainably grow this in a way that's future proof.
Hello, friends. Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of Merging Minds, powered by Bureauverse, your TMS partner. Today, I am thrilled. As I said, I am always thrilled, but it's because I am trying to bring you guys human stories and leadership stories from folks that I know, that I think they have stories to share. They're good people, they're good leaders. And today, I'm bringing you the one and only Kristy Sakai. Hi, Kristy.
Hey, hello.
Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Hey, for those who don't know you, like, who is Kristy Sakai?
I can introduce myself.
Yes,
My
please.
name's my name's Kristy Sakai. I am CEO of We Are Very. We are a multilingual content creation localization agency, but we're probably better known still as Supertext. So in June, we went through a rebranding. That was quite a big change for us in terms of first, like, name, looks, just how we are presenting ourselves, and also kind of a long-term strategic shift as well. But ultimately, we're the same company, we're the same core team, and yeah, we are very excited to
I love it.
yeah.
Where are you from? Like, where were you born? Like, tell us a bit about your
Yeah.
origins.
Yeah. So I'm Japanese, and I was born in Japan. Um, and when I was younger, we kind of moved around quite a bit. My dad worked for Yamaha, which I don't know why that meant we moved so much, but we went from spent some time in the US, and then went back to Japan, and then to the UK, and then eventually I went to Berlin, Germany, after kind of education ended. And so, yeah, I would say I grew up in those kind of three main places: Japan, the UK, and Germany. And yeah, kind of spent a lot of time in those like cultures, and had kids, and yeah, and then eventually I moved to Switzerland, which is where I joined Supertext.
Oh, and you're
Um,
based now? You're based in the States, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, so about 7 years ago, it might be closer to 8 now. It's been a while. I decided that I wanted to have a change. At
Yes.
that point, I was actually a language manager, so I was managing projects and language related like vendor side things, and kind of involved in more on the production side.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
decided to, yeah, and of course my background like was more in I worked in like the music industry and some publishing stuff, so I was doing more on like copy and like more on the creative side. So
Yeah.
basically I decided that I wanted to change, but I really enjoyed working in our team, and I didn't really want to leave Supertext. So instead I proposed that we open a US branch. And so that's what brought me over to here. Ronaldo, who is the founder of Supertext, he came out with me at the same time, and we basically built the US operations together from scratch.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
that's
looking.
kind of
You have the classical profile that most of us in the industry have. Born
yeah,
somewhere, raised somewhere else,
yeah.
work somewhere for a company that's not from where they come from, and that's the
Mhm.
classical localization industry profile of person, right? And that's what makes it
Yeah.
like, it's like, hey, here we are, right, helping the world to get internationalized, right?
Yeah, I love, that's why I love the industry, because you meet
Yeah,
so many interesting people that have like very diverse backgrounds, and they've had their like life experience in such interesting places. And yeah, I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and what I value about what I see that is super interesting, especially about yourself, is like that transition you had from being a program manager to be a
Hmm.
CEO to to go to the entrepreneurial career, right? I'm loving it. A lot of the guests that come here and speak about their journey have similar situations as you are. What
Hmm.
sparks one day in someone's head, like, hey, I'm gonna go there. That more difficult way of owning a business or having a
Yeah.
business. Hey,
Yeah.
tell me about that switch of mind and that how that goes.
Yeah, I've wondered that myself. I think probably I was never cut out to work in like a safe environment, and sort of be very like corporate. That was probably not my path. So I guess that started early on. Um, but one of the things that I really loved about working with Ronaldo, for example, was like that he didn't come from like the language industry or translation, right? And so the approaches were really fresh, and it also meant that they like gave like space to ideas and like finding like unique solutions. And so that was like an area of my work that I really enjoyed. And I realized like actually like I mean I still love languages, I love writing, and but like what I found really exciting was like taking on like problems of like either it's like more strategic problems, like how do we approach market A, B, C, to like really much more like nitty gritty problems, like how do we, I don't know, write a script to like convert all these files at once,
Yes,
kind of thing. So
yes,
just that range of like different problem solving, that was what really like I enjoyed, and kind of getting like to a solution and getting to like some kind of achievement and result. And so I think that probably like made it feel possible to say, okay, let's go out there, try something new.
yeah. And also, what
Mhm.
about the leading part? The leading part, like I said, like, hey, on top of that, I feel that I could help others by leading as well. Did that how did that happen in your head as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure actually. I think I grew into it more than
Oh yeah,
like, oh, I'm ready to like lead. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I It's strange because I always like I studied management, which is like the most general thing in the world, and I did it because I didn't know what else I wanted to study. And actually, what I really wanted to do was like do ceramics in like the mountains in Japan, but that seemed like unrealistic at that point.
nice,
And
love it.
so
I'm a lawyer myself. I studied law. I have a master's in international business. I never used
really,
neither of them. So hey, I
yeah,
know that, like this is the industry of like where we welcome all those strange cases as well, right?
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like maybe, somewhere I was leading towards this in terms of like managing and leadership. But I think really I grew into it.
Any fears or doubts that you had that you say like, holy smokes, I had this thing on my mind that day. I said like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
Can you think of
Yeah.
any of those?
Of course, like, yeah, of course, like on a daily basis. But I think like I'm quite an optimistic person, I think. And I'm also like not very like I'm not very anxious. So I think like that just keeps me like, okay, let's
You're my
just keep
nemesis
going.
then.
And
I'm anxiety personified, but I'm controlling that in the last year thanks to meditation, therapy, and mindfulness. So it's
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, obviously there are times where I feel like, I really need to like take a step back and kind of like reconsider and just, slow things down, because sometimes I just run because I'm scared, and that's not a healthy place to be. But I think generally speaking, like I'm more of a believer that we'll make it work, and um, and we usually do. So that's probably what's keeping me like sane
Yeah,
in
yeah,
all of this. Yeah,
yeah. And I
yeah,
think as well, like on like what the hell? After all, we can all restart again, right? Careers, lives, like at any age, and refound ourselves, right?
Yeah, and maybe like, I've kind of gotten this from like I don't know, living in Europe a little bit, but like I feel like it has to be, work has to be enjoyable. I really love the like work ethic in the States, and also like I take on a lot of the work ethic from like Japan, where I've seen like my dad, and how he worked, and I have a lot of that in me, so I tend to overwork, but I also like have like kind of the sense of like people that I grew up with, where they work to play, and I
Yeah,
think that keeps me also like um, I have, I really cherish like having hobbies and doing things for fun, and yeah, and
yeah,
trying not to just lose myself in the work. So
yeah.
yeah.
Refoundations, personal refoundations. Since we're talking about personal refoundations, you just rebranded the company,
Mm,
right? So,
yeah.
like, can you tell us the story about that behind, or what was the, yeah, how did that come?
Yeah, it's quite fresh still. So
Yes, yeah.
yeah, the rebranding is still happening. We
We
still
just,
see,
like, for those watching, we're recording this podcast in August, summer of
yeah.
2024. So,
Yeah, so it's been, this is month 3 for us, as we are very, yeah, originally, obviously, I just kind of uh, talked about how I was at Supertext in Switzerland. That's where Supertext is headquartered. And we came over to the US to start the US operations. So the last 7 years has been building that, from like building the team to obviously like meeting clients, and yeah, having kind of a really great roster of clients now, and like also adapting ourselves a lot, like localizing, Supertext to more of a global market. And as that progressed, we really felt like a stronger like pull towards one thing, whereas our headquarters were pulling towards another. And that's to do with, as like the markets are different. Like Switzerland is quite a closed market in terms of like there's a lot of activity there, but it's a domestic market.
yeah,
And our clients were like definitely like global players, or are
yeah,
global players. So there's a slight difference in approach there, and these kind of differences were becoming a little bit more of a challenge, because like all our tooling and our like the things that we shared were diverging. And so one impetus for the rebranding was that through that trend, as we were seeing more and more of that change, we decided that we should probably focus on 2 different areas. And then the second thing that happened was the whole AI like revolution in the last like 2 years, and we realized that actually our roots are like as a agency is in copywriting, and we realized that the scalability of copywriting could reach the same scalability as localization, through using generative AI and kind of plugging that into different systems. And so that was what really excited us, actually. We thought like, hey, this is like us being able to do what we did like 10 years ago on a smaller scale, but at the scale of like what localization could achieve. Because that's always been like it's not always a like trade-off, but you know one approach could be that you have like 10 marketing agencies in 10 markets, right? But not that's not really a practical or financially viable approach to like localizing a lot of company material. And
and I like, that I'm good friends with a couple of people that work with you guys, with your clients, that are your clients. I can think of two now, and they're top
Mm-hmm.
wonders about working with Supertext. We're very like
Yeah.
it's very difficult to take clients away from you guys. So that's awesome. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All the great
Yeah.
feedback from a couple of very big brands. So I guess that comes a lot, not only from the work but also from the values that you guys have put into the company, right? What are some of the core values that you say, like, hey, these are the things that define us and make us stand out from other people that are doing similar things to us?
Yeah, I think that's always been our core differentiator, is like this approach to marketing content, to content that like has to make an impact in terms of like visibility or clicks or business value, and just approaching it like from the audience point of view. So like, who is the target audience and what are we trying to make them do through our content? And so that's a much more of a copywriting approach than traditional translation, right? Which is more like about accuracy and like transferring the meaning and like, and so being able to combine those two things has really made us kind of be able to focus differently on like digital content, marketing content, advertising content, and also even things like product and training material, because like the maturity of different like markets are change how you communicate with them.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that sort of it's easy to just say like a creative approach, but that kind of like systematic like approach of like how do we reach these people, that's kind of been our core yeah values, I guess,
Yeah,
for how
I think
we
those
do
values, those ideas that you're pointing out, they really go along with those new, more ideas of like the future of our industry and how it's evolving. I think so, right? But what I see, but when I talk to people about, they're really connected to those, right? How do you, since I'm here
yeah
asking you this, how do you see the future of
the
our industry?
future. Yeah. Yeah, I feel there is a no, I feel like we're in the future like right
You,
now, like it feels like, yeah, things are like you're already looking, yeah, like forward constantly.
yeah,
Yeah, because there's so many changes. And but I really believe, I really believe that like a more like customized approach is going to be possible. So I think localization, I first, I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think the
we're sticking here.
future,
We're stuck.
right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. But I do think that we're going to get better at it,
Yeah,
by being able to personalize and customize content much more like closely to align with like, if you have like a campaign and you're like approaching 5 different markets, then you can take a much more like personalized approach to those, because the like technology for like researching those markets and bringing in uh, like maybe even shifting the tone of like the messaging and all of that would become much more I think involved in the process of localizing that, right? And I think that will really just make the output better. Like it would make us better at doing the work that we do. um
that's super interesting, and what like I'm as a leader, as a founder, as a
mhm.
like someone that runs a company, uh, and that's why I ask you about the future, because it's in our hands, it's in the hands of those leaders to make a
Yeah,
future, right? And it's coming, and it's here, and it's not the future, it's now. Like the future is an idea that I don't believe in it either. It's
right.
just right, it's just here. And but for a ready to today professional in today's future, which is now, what do you think are some skills that a professional, a translator, a leader, a project manager, a salesperson should have nowadays? If I ask you, hey, somebody's studying in the industry in this, and you're a mentor, which skills should you focus on developing?
Yeah, I think it's two directions. One is I like we now look for experts, right? Like specialist experts that really know their stuff in a specific area, whether it's SEO or like advertising copy, or like strategic market, like insight knowledge, whatever it is. It's like also like, is it video editing, is it so just very like specific skills that like you own and that you're the expert on. That's like who we look for.
Mhm.
And then on the other side, I think generalists are like what like are so valuable. Someone that can
The new
like handle,
humanist, the new
yeah,
humanist
really,
versus the medieval man, right?
yeah,
I love what you say because you stumble upon a lot of medieval opinions all the time from the industry, and like coming from a leader, it's great to hear things like this. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, people that can really like talk to talk to people, I guess, and communicate and empathize and really like understand like what you know what you're trying to solve. I think that's really valuable.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So there's definitely a shift happening right now, and it's affecting uh, in the today, yeah? In the today, not in the future. It's happening now. Uh, like, how do you see this shift that is taking place right now with AI? With all the new skills that people that work are having,
Yeah,
affecting smaller companies. I mean, you guys are a mid-sized company, let's say, right? So how do you
yeah.
see this like in which aspects should a smaller company focus today to not be left behind? What do you think?
Be left behind. Yeah, that's hard actually. I mean, that's probably if I knew.
But I'm sure
uh,
you've been through that recently, right? No,
Yeah,
and
but
you.
I mean, our rebranding is really based on that question, right? How do we, as like a mid-size, okay, maybe like it's the same, it doesn't matter with size, but for us, like every client matters, every single like contact that we have like is important, and like this is something that we how can we sustainably grow this in a way that's future proof, and that's kind of the idea behind the rebranding. Is like the thing that we saw and that we got excited about is like, okay, there's like technology that can now be deployed to like help in so many areas. So
Mhm.
production is obviously one side, or like just producing output. But we're like, as you know, we switched tools, right? So we are now, partners with BWX, and we are using that tool to build our like internal processes, and all of that is really powered by technologies that are like improving every single day. And so we're able to like by like, I think everyone's innovating, but making like a radical change for us has been really like, has shown us like how things could be more streamlined, how where we can find better like ways to do things. And I think in the long run, this is like what's going to like keep us competitive and on top of things, really.
So for companies that are smaller that might be start because I hear a lot of stories that are horror stories, Christy, as well, from smaller companies, people that are like, hey, what the hell are we gonna do now? Like
Yeah,
clients are not ordering, clients are not, and I don't want to be catastrophist, but I think I like your approach, the approach of be bold, be different, have when things are not working, have a radical change rather than wait.
hmm,
At the end, you hear that people that I mean that a lot of friends that are in, I don't want to call it the comfort zone, but it's the comfort zone, they struggle. So if you're listening out there and you're
yeah.
struggling, like seeing things and doing things differently might help, although you think it's not, might not be safe, right, Christy?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's pain, right? Evolved. It's not seamless and it's not easy. So
Yeah.
yeah, of course. And there's no guarantee that it will work. So that's, I mean, talking about the fears that you were saying of entrepreneurship and being kind of
Yeah.
having doubts, like that creeps in all the time. So you have to really
Yeah.
just believe, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of. I mean, it is in your hands in the end, because yeah, whether something's a success or not, you only see the results later, right? So you have to just keep um, kind of fighting that fear.
Yes, yes, and
Yeah.
it's not easy, right? It's not easy. So, I mean, the future to me also looks bright. The future looks like full of opportunities. The future looks like, we gotta do stuff. We have to continue there, no?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think like things are changing, and it's just the speed, right? That it's kind of scary how quickly things change. And yeah, it's always like, can you keep up? Um, that's yeah. But I think that you evolve constantly is probably happening anyway. It's just, do you do
Yeah.
it consciously or not?
What advice
Yeah.
would you give a new leader that comes in the industry, or somebody that just wants to start the industry right now? On the vendor side, for example, right? Because you're working on the vendor side. What kind of advice would you give them
Yeah, good point.
after
I
all the things we
think
said? Right?
I know it's hard, but I think, I mean, definitely find your niche, like what are you good at, why, right, why you, and then take it seriously. So like, I mean, the how can I say, like, you have to live what you believe in. So like, if you are like um if you decide to focus on one thing, whether like, okay, like I'm going to do game trailers, or I'm going to really focus on, I don't know, it could even be like, you know, something much less creative, right? Like if it's legal, then it's like, okay, that's what I'm good at. Like I'm doing legal. Um, but then like really focus on that, and don't try not to get distracted too much with
Mhm,
other things. That's
mhm.
also like something that I have to stop myself from doing, because there's a lot of really interesting things out there, and you want to try them all. But like then you really kind of lose focus on what you're
Yeah.
actually really good at. And so
So
you have to really live.
but innovation is something that you think you could be different to anyone rather than try.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think like I know like the whole buzz is about technology, and it's super important. Like that's what's really like, allowing us to do what we do is the
Yeah.
technology. But like ultimately, like I think why it's really like a personal relationship, right? That you build. And I mean, better than
Yeah.
anyone, I think, how
I've
how
like
like
on my end, like I've used technology, aka also social media, to not only to create new relationships, but to nurture them, right? To like
yeah,
a lot of people that I met one time, like I have a very peculiar life, but that I sort of broadcast and I'm able to communicate with other people that say, hey, I like what you're doing, and I always have this thing. I've used technology to amplify my reach, so to say, right?
yeah,
Rather than say, hey, no, I rather be out there picking up the phone and calling people strangely, right? To
yeah,
create more relationship, to create more relationship. That's more as I've seen. So I've taken advantage of it, right? And it's funny to see this, right? Like like you said that you studied management. I studied law.
mhm,
I
mhm,
finished 16 years ago, and
yeah,
if they would told me like, hey, you in 16 years you will be doing good, you will in a good life, and you will live in a good life, and you'll be the head of community. It's like, what the hell is a head of community? Can you
yeah,
imagine how important it is to be flexible and to have the
yeah,
right the right amount of expectations?
yeah. No,
You know?
absolutely. My yeah, I have two kids. My son's going to graduate university soon.
Oh wow,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and I just hope like that he finds something that he likes,
Oh,
because I like talking about the future. There's so many. You could have become a lawyer, but like it doesn't, because it's a safe, like it's meant to be a safe job, it's meant to be a well paid job, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like you're you are like well, that you're happy. And so, so I think that's like the harder part.
I wouldn't have been happy a single day if it would have gone that way.
Yeah, yeah. But it's really hard. It's really hard to know what you like and what makes you happy. And also for, going back to like the like finding your like niche thing, like it's really also hard to know what you're good at. And
Yes.
so all of that like is kind of a like personal discovery kind of process, I think.
Christy, thanks for sharing with us this new adventure you're in, this way of seeing the future and how it's happening now, and also to show your human side as well here. Because I mean, I'm happy and proud to be bringing to the industry, to emerging minds, the human side of leaders who tend to appear on a LinkedIn page or a
Yeah.
LinkedIn name, and they're like out of reach to a lot of people, and they're not. They're humans like you. So thank you so much for being here today with us, Christy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun. It's always fun to talk to you.
Oh, thanks so much. So, anyone who has listened, thank you so much for following us for another episode of Merging Minds, and we'll be back soon with another guest and another leader telling human stories. Cheers. Bye bye.